Welcome to Manufacturing Talk Radio.
Hi, everybody. Lew Weiss again, and we're at the Motion and Power Technology Expo in Detroit, Michigan. I've said that enough times today that I can say it without making one mistake. I'm pleased to be here and speaking with Beau Hallavant.
You got it.
From WD Bearing Group.
That's it.
So, Beau, tell us about it.
You want to know about WD first?
Yeah.
We'll do that.
We'll throw you in the middle of that.
I'm not important. We don't have to put me in there at all. We could just do WD. No problem.
Okay.
Yeah. WD's new in the world of bearings, and for probably most of the listeners here today, most of the folks at the show, probably something nobody's really seen. We've historically been pretty bad at marketing, and it's actually been somewhat intentional. It's been a good ride, but our job in the world of bearings is to be a little bit more flexible and a little bit more of a service provider than what most might expect typically from bearing manufacturing. We're new as far as 1999. I know 1899. There's probably some companies out there. We're 1999, so we're coming up on year 25. Our history is pretty much founded upon the production of cylindrical roller bearings, classic bearings for gearbox world, which makes sense on why we're here today, right? These bearings are used heavily all across gearbox, other industries, material handling and whatnot. We're located now internationally, production facility just outside of Shanghai in Wuxi, China. We have satellite offices in Indianapolis, Indiana, and another one in Dusseldorf, Germany.
Right.
So we're getting pretty big, coming around.
You know, one of the things that we were talking about earlier is that manufacturers and marketing, they know how to make things, they know how to sell things, but there's a lot of things they don't know, and that's marketing.
Marketing, I agree.
And
that's a tough one.
It is tough, and you know, especially when they go and hire a marketing guy, and then he says, "Well, I'm going to need $5,000 for this and $20,000 for that." You know, they start freaking out.
Right? It's almost like they need to make money.
But it's a long-term investment.
It is.
It's a long-term investment, and you know, much of what we have done with All Metals and Forge Group, which is my company, a forging company. Yeah. We created Manufacturing Talk Radio to drive traffic to our forging company, but then it's got its own legs, and it's now become a thing.
Sure, breathing life into other places.
Yeah, it's a thing that hasn't made 10 cents, but that's just pure.
Hopefully it's at least been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. We have a lot of fun doing what we're doing. But the thing that we have learned is that manufacturers, there's a lot of things they don't know. So our driving traffic from Manufacturing Talk Radio to All Metals and Forge Group, that was one phase. The second phase was to be able to drive information to the manufacturing sector and teach them as an educational tool about what's out there.
Sure.
You know, especially, you know, the last couple of years with all the technology and, you know, AI, ASI, IoT, 3D printing, and all the rest of it. They're beginning to catch on to all that.
I see.
And we have a lot. We've done our 800th. Say that twice. 800th show last week, and
who was the lucky guest?
You know, I don't. I think it might have been Institute of Supply Management.
It seems like a pretty good one for 800.
I'm sorry?
That seems like a pretty good one for 800.
Well, they were also our first 10 years ago. Yes, they were our 800.
Look at that.
That was a great question. You really made me think about that. I don't know if I told them. I'm going to have to tell them about that. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that we present to the manufacturing sector, giving them information, advice to improve their business, improve productivity, improve profitability.
Sure.
And that's a lot of what you're doing as well. So tell us a little bit more about the different approaches that where there's expertise and
Sure,
authority.
sure. So there's a growing trend right now, like you said, introducing a lot of new technologies has come with more than just the tech involved with it, but actually some of the different strategies for approaching a market using some of these technologies.
Yes.
I'm sure you've seen a ton of them on people using more AI in marketing. ChatGPT being a very popular choice for marketing, even a very popular choice for college students, right? And that's presented its
Yeah.
own different types of challenges, right? But also
It's not totally
advantages.
perfected yet, though.
It's not. It's definitely not. So I like to consider tools like this a lot like Wikipedia. You know, it's a good place to start, but you should definitely do your own research on top of it.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
But with that, there's also been a big push into e-commerce. We have a lot of tools now, whether they're engagement tools, user interface, where we're getting some more opportunities where e-commerce is an appropriate option for a lot of things you might purchase from manufacturing. Bearings is no stranger to this. It's there's databases online, distributors that use e-commerce as a principal way of sales, which is great. And some of the larger manufacturers in the same space are now starting to gravitate more towards e-commerce, and you can see that from some of the big leaders in our industry. We're noticing though that it's almost becoming a double-edged sword in some places. You get a great opportunity of reducing your resources. The customers can directly interact with your catalog, which is beautiful. There's some great advantages to that. Then for some industries, gearbox here being a good example, what's available in a catalog doesn't match up. They're having to design their gearbox or design their application to match a bearing that they found. And we kind of lost a little bit of that personalization or that connection to the manufacturer, connection to the application to build competitive edge through personalization. We're losing a little bit of that in e-commerce. So it's a balance because there's needs of both, right? The major population can get away with e-commerce in a lot of places, reduce resources. It's good.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we need to be a little bit more personal.
You talk about onshoring and geopolitical.
It's popular.
Let's talk about that.
It's a popular topic, and I saw that some of your listeners are involved in economics, and so
yes, we get a lot of economists on our show.
I bet. Well, I by no means am an economist at all. I'm a director of sales for a company that primarily manufactures in China, right? But a lot of my job is, I would say, trend analysis. I'm not necessarily numbers analysis, so I won't try to bore anyone here or any listeners with numbers, right? But it's no stranger to the topic of onshoring, right? Especially as geopolitical tensions are on the rise, or at least increased awareness right now. And matter of fact, even since first considering some of this discussion, of course, we have some more political tensions that are going on right now in the world.
Just a few.
Just a few, right? But onshoring is the one in particular that is relevant to probably all audience here. We know that a lot of Pacific or Asia Pacific manufacturers, where they're pulling some of that to the U.S. or at least whatever their domestic country is. Maybe that's even out of Asia and into Europe, out of Asia into the States, or sometimes even the other way around. Just people getting more centralized manufacturing base to their headquarters. Here's something we've noticed.
From a sales position that you're in,
yes,
and your products are being produced in China,
yes,
Asia. So at one time, Japan was poo-pooed. Don't buy Japanese products.
Right.
It stinks. It's terrible.
Right.
China, it stinks. It's terrible.
Yep.
Where is that at now?
Well,
do you get much pushback?
There is. I like to be very transparent. Our company as a whole is very transparent. We definitely still have some political pushback to China. I've decided to start calling this technical prejudice. It's the most succinct way I've started to think about it. And we had the same technical prejudice for Japan. We have it now for China. We still have it for other countries like India as well.
Yes.
It's common. This onshoring, though, and relating it to the technical prejudice it's not as big of an issue as we all might think. We hear about it a lot, we talk about it a lot, but here's something that we're seeing in the trend as a stark reality. American labor is expensive. We know that. That's verifiable. It's not an opinion, right? It's just an observation. As a result, we're bringing a lot of this onshoring in our manufacturing base. That's causing the price of whatever's being manufactured to rise, being supported by U.S. labor.
Right.
As a result, the commodities or even subassemblies inside of these products are still heavily being sourced in low-cost countries, and we're finding that trend to actually increase to offset the cost of U.S. labor.
What's increasing?
The total usage of commodities in Southeast Asian regions.
Really?
To offset that cost of labor, they're bringing low-cost commodities to continue to make a competitively priced product.
So you're mixing product A and product B.
Yes. So we're talking about Southeast Asian and low-cost country commodities and perhaps even sub-assemblies being shipped to the U.S. for final assembly here in the U.S.
Interesting.
And so it's actually driving a considerable amount of business to Southeast Asia for accessible commodities and accessible sub-assemblies.
What about the U.S. tariff on Asian
We
products?
still feel that, without a doubt. That 25% tariff is still present.
Yeah.
It's still absolutely present. What's wild is it never changed our growth rate. I was with this company before the tariffs dropped. I was with a Japanese company before that. Of course, I've been with this company since the tariffs dropped, and I'm still very well connected to some of my colleagues in the Japanese world.
Yes.
It's not made much of a shift.
Interesting.
At least not in the world of bearings. I'm sure other commodities are
There are
affected
other
differently.
commodities.
But we're talking specifically the world of bearings. That shift has not been as big as we thought.
And to speak only for a moment politically, but
Sure,
we don't do
dangerously.
that. Yeah, let's get under the table and talk about it. Our present administration has done nothing about relieving the tariffs. They
True.
believe in it. The prior administration is the one who started it.
Oh, yes. I was in China when it dropped.
Wow.
That was unique.
Wow.
Yes.
But historically, if you go back in time, tariffs don't work. Doesn't work.
Doesn't seem to be working right now.
Yeah.
The
But it's caused inflation.
oh, of course.
It may wind up ultimately causing a low-level recession.
It could. At least a very stagnant economy.
Yes,
Temporarily.
absolutely.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And there's some level in manufacturing that is a little flat right now.
Yes.
And that's problematic, and a lot of it has
Yes.
to do with the tariff.
And I can attest, being connected to 5 major industry types as a bearing manufacturer, I get a little insight from
Sure.
5 major industries for the U.S. And it's flat.
Yeah,
It's flat
yeah, and it's
on organic stuff, I should say.
right.
Organic is flat.
That said, I've been in the forging metals business for 50 years.
That's a good stretch.
21, 22, and 23 were my record years.
I believe it.
So it doesn't make sense.
I believe it.
Record years and years where you have inflation, a scare of recession, and COVID and all the rest of it. To have a
It's tough.
record years, I'm still trying to explain it to myself.
Yes, I can double down on that. That not only are you having record years in all these places, but us on the other side of getting hit with a 25% tariff. And for a good chunk of our product, we also have anti-dumping taxes on top.
Right.
We are still also having record years.
Amazing.
Yes, everything against us and the interest for Chinese bearings is at record levels.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
It really is amazing. And
Without a
you
doubt.
know, both administrations, particularly the prior one, were trying to convince us that these tariffs are actually being charged to China, and it's not. it's being charged to the manufacturers here in the United States.
There's definitely a good piece of that. So we took a slightly different approach. Maybe some others took this, which is why I bring it up. The tariffs were not placed by vote of the American people. So we didn't feel like it was quite fair to pass on 100% of the tariffs
Right.
to the people that didn't push
Right.
for them. Our company took a shared approach. We share the impact of the tariffs instead of passing on all 25%.
That probably helped to your record-breaking sales.
It's probably played a role.
Yeah.
It's probably played a role. Since these tariffs have been in place, our slowest growth year was in the 20%.
Wow.
It's just, there's some analysis I still need to complete. There's some things I haven't quite figured out yet. And again, that's part of my job, director of sales, is trying to figure some of these things out. I still haven't figured out where all that's coming from, where all this growth is coming from. Especially now, we're starting to see some things flatten out economically this year, 2024, because we're an 18-month commodity. That's our sales linked is about 18 months. So we're looking 2025 already. Traditional organic growth is flat right now, but project growth is the highest it's ever been.
I think that at least my view of it, and from some economists that we have on the show, part of the record-breaking sales that occurred in 21, 22 in particular had to do a lot with the fear of manufacturing companies of not having enough product.
Yes, it was a big boom.
So it was a big boom on buying inventory.
Yes.
And 23, they're beginning to burn that off.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's a record year, but not like
Right.
21, particularly 22.
Sure.
So there is a bit of a flattening, which has to do with burning off inventory.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Some
so-
surplus.
So
Yeah.
2024, that could be a flat year also.
Sure. And it's an election year, so it is typically a little bit more calm.
And it's going to be quite an election year.
It should be unique. It should be unique. So we have forecasted at least the first 6 months of the year will be nothing to talk about. You might have some things here and there, some general business going on, but
Right.
it seems as though right now it's a little paused. It's
Yeah.
a little paused,
Yeah.
but it works well for new projects.
I agree with that. But again, new technology is going to produce production.
Yes.
So it could be a bumpy ride. You
Sure.
know, up and down,
Sure.
up and down. And we've had that many
Sure.
times
Yeah,
before in our business history.
for sure. And
So-
you probably have to separate automotive and industrial. Those are two totally
yeah.
different conversations
Yeah,
right now with
yeah.
the way the technology is rolling.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I can't speak at all on automotive. I'm by no means an expert in that industry.
Well, they're selling a lot of cars.
I feel that.
Yeah. So, Beau, it was a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
It has been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Good luck with your growth.
Thanks.
and
It's a
your-
good problem.
Good, and let's talk from time to time.
I'm sure we can keep in touch.
Okay.
Both learn from each other.
Everybody, it's time to say, see you at the next interview.
That's our show for today. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the show, please like and subscribe, share on social media, or leave a review. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Rumble, or your favorite podcast app. Visit us online at mfgtalkradio.com for our other episodes. We have also included links to our advertisers below. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.